So the third candle of Advent is about joy, which is the attitude that we should all display all the time. And Paul gives us the way to accomplish that attitude of joy. First, he says, rejoice all the time. Let me say that again. Rejoice all the time. Then he says, be gentle all the time. To everyone, all the time. Third, do not worry about anything all the time. Do you want to worry or do you want to rejoice? In a recent study of older people, that is people older than we are, they were asked what would they change about their life that they'd already lived if they could. And their answer was universal. I would not have worried so much. Paul goes on to say, after don't worry, be thankful. Be thankful all the time. And fifth, he says, pray. Let your requests be known to God, and the result will be the peace that passes all understanding. So, the way to an attitude of joy is more rejoicing than complaining, more gentleness than tough talk, less worry, which accomplishes nothing, and more thankfulness and prayer. Again, be joyful, rejoice, don't worry, be thankful, be at peace, and trust God. Then we move to John the Baptist, who got the people's attention. He, you cannot say, was gentle. He was coarse, and he dressed funny. He scared people into asking, what should we do? John says, what should you do? Share what you have. If you got 2 coats, you got too many. Give one to somebody who has none. Now that's getting into our personal space. Do you mean to say that one pair of good shoes is enough? Share your food. To those with money, he said, be fair and just and do not cheat. In seminary, I worked for a so-called Christian car dealer. The guy owned his own church. I worked in the office and I booked cars, so I knew what he had in each car and I knew what he sold it for. We took in trade a car that he had allowed $100 for on trade-in. This was some car. And then that car that the dealership had $100 in was sold to a young man as his first car for $895. Now I knew that he sold brand new cars for as little as $25 over cost. I saw the paperwork. So with that young man's deal in my hand, I marched into the owner of the dealership's office and said, this is wrong. Making more profit from someone who can least afford it than you do from the profit you make on selling a new car. Well, he said, David, you don't understand how business works. I said, maybe not. But I do know what both Jesus and John have said. He was unmoved, but I felt like at least I was sticking up for this part where it says, don't cheat anybody. To the soldiers, John said, and to the police, do not abuse your authority by threatening people or by planting evidence. And I might add, by shooting people in the back. And he went on to say, be satisfied with your pay. Satisfied? With your pay? Satisfied is another one of those words, or one of those attitudes that leads to joy. I can't think of the country western singer that sang with Porter Wagoner. He sang a song about a satisfied man. If you can have an attitude of being satisfied, you will display joy. Finally, I get to the first words, or the words of the first lesson. I only took a short phrase from the first lesson. The King of Israel, the Lord, is in your midst. Today we will watch as the Lord appears as a baby born in the town of Bethlehem. So often he is there, so often he is here, but we look for him in the wrong places. We look in the wrong places for the Lord who is in our midst. A young couple came to be married in the church, and the verse they chose for their marriage and for the pastor to speak on was this one. Beneath are the everlasting arms. A few months after the wedding, the groom was killed in a car accident. And the minister was called. And so when he got to the home, the grieving bride sat on the sofa in the arms of her father. When she saw him, with grief and tears and sobs, she screamed at him, "Where are your everlasting arms now, Reverend? Where are they now?" She sobbed. He stood there for a few minutes, and then he went over and he touched the arms of her father that held her. He said, "There they are, Alice. There they are." The King of Israel, the Lord, is in our midst. So to review, from Paul, we hear, be gentle. Don't worry. Be thankful. Be at peace. From John, we hear, share what you have. Be fair and just. And do not cheat. And for God's sake, be satisfied. I said satisfied. Should I say it again? And from Zechariah, remember, God has been known to use aliases, but he is always in our midst.